Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hashtag Clocked In with me, your host, Jordan Edwards. I'm thrilled to have you tune in as we dive into the dynamic world of productivity, success, and stories of incredible individuals who've mastered the art of getting things done. Whether you're commuting, hitting the gym, or just relaxing at home, this podcast is the go-to source for inspiration and actionable tips to level up your productivity game. I'm on a mission to unravel the secrets of those who seem to effortlessly manage their time and achieve their goals. So if you're ready to clock in and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place. We've got a lineup of amazing guests, industry experts, and thought leaders who will share their insights and strategies to help us crush your to-do list and make the most out of every moment. Get ready to get inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools you need to supercharge your productivity. This is Hashtag Clocked In with Jordan Edwards. Let's dive in.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a special guest here today. We have Sean Fetcho. He's the co-founder and CEO of Verséa Health. He's also an avid traveler for both business and pleasure, and is thankful to have been to all 50 U.S. states, wow, and 90 plus countries. He enjoys drums, snowboarding, tennis, basketball, and spending time with his family. How are you doing today?
You nailed it, man. That was pretty good. Doing fine. Yeah, it's another day, right? It's post Valentine's Day right now. So, I got a lot of love in the air.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have you on the podcast just because after our couple meetings, you are a fascinating guy and you've done a lot of different stuff. So where does that journey for you start?
Oh gosh. As a kid, so I grew up in upstate New York, central New York. And for those of you that know central New York, there's not shit to do up there. So we were ski bums and living in snow for 8 months a year. That was the standard. It's actually a great place to grow up. But I got my first little taste of travel, really as a child, going to Nashville with my family every break, or Florida down to Tampa, and heading to Disney and doing that whole thing. My grandparents lived in Clearwater at the time. So I got a little taste of it, but the real taste happened when I was a junior in high school. I had the opportunity to go on a trip to Spain. So it was a fantastic situation because it was 6 of us guys and like 18 girls that went on to Spain. And it was all me and my best friends. So we got to go over there and toured all of Spain, chaperoned by teachers, obviously. And I just fell in love with the concept of learning about different people, different cultures, different talents, just a lot. And then I was able to go to St. Lucia with a friend of mine and his family, both in that same year. And now I have a villa in St. Lucia and I still go there repeatedly, multiple times a year. So that was my little dose of travel. And then ever since, I felt the need that getting out there and really learning about what goes on in the world is a better way to learn than sticking your nose in a textbook. And not to say that, school and education isn't important, but when you mirror that with going abroad and seeing what's out there, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the passions that I kind of came up with and found what made me find you very interesting is that you agreed with that you're like, you can learn a concept, yes, but you can really learn what's going on by going there. Sure. And I saw that so often with some of the travel I've done where it's been like Peru, Thailand, Israel, these different places, but they have memories and it's really one of the top moments for myself. So what caused you to make that jump to go to Spain and allowed you to go? And I understand it was a high school trip, but I don't know too many high schoolers that are going on these things where probably a lot of kids that said no.
Yeah, apparently it's a thing. I can tell you my dad wasn't happy. He never understood it. He's never left the country, right? So it was my mother that was able to push that through. Probably didn't even tell him that I was going until last minute. But yeah, I mean, look, the world's different now, right? So as somebody that grew up in the 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, it's a different environment. The world's shrunk, right? We have access to so much now. So much more flights are going out. So much more vacation, access to the internet to book things. Before you have to go through a travel agent, right? It was just a process to go on a vacation. You couldn't really search the internet up until the late 90s when Google came out. So I actually I'm a hybrid, right? All these things happened in 1998, 1999, 2000, before that was even a thing. I mean, we went over there. We didn't have any phones. We
Oh,
didn't
wow.
have internet, right? So it was more of, hey, you're going on a true trip and you're really going to experience the culture. And I think right now, I think one of my biggest complaints is a lot of people travel just to be able to post the gram or the TikTok, or they're not really immersing themselves in the culture. And I think there's two types of travel, right? You can get on an American cruise ship and go, over and get off for 6 hours in an island, walk around a beach and say you've been to that island. Or you can go into the depths of the jungles, hanging out with locals, playing, I play drums. As you can see, there's a drum set right here. But you could be playing with locals in some house 2 hours inland with a bunch of locals and getting a feel for the culture and the vibe. Those are two different trips, right? Eating a bunch of food on a cruise ship, having all American culture, American entertainment, American food, and then arriving in an island where the island gets no money or revenue really from that cruise ship, very little, is not really a vacation to me or a way to culturally see a place. I'm not discounting cruise ships. I think they're great for certain things, but there's a different dynamic of going on a vacation and staying in a hut in the depths of the Amazon versus going on a cruise ship. So I try to find really, really different things to do, and I try to localize myself as much as possible into that culture or that city or wherever I am that I'm going to. So it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I realized that actually when I was studying abroad. I realized that you have people that I call it like a relaxation trip, where it's just like hanging out, chilling on the beach, doing whatever, versus like the exploration, where you're
Yeah.
out there and you're like hiking the Inca Trail and living in the on the trail, not taking a shower for 4 days, just really immersed in the
Yeah.
area. Like
Exactly right.
you place yourself for opportunities that you could never imagine.
Yeah. And look, both are good, right? As long as you're doing the other one, right? If you're only taking trips that are going to the same places, staying in some Americanized hotel and getting all American treatment just in another place, it's like you've transplanted your culture to another place just to say you're there. You're not really experiencing it. So yeah, I'm a big proponent. And it's interesting because now I'm at 90 plus countries. I can't even, like, all the ones that people would go to, they're already off the list, right? So I have to find
Yeah.
places like Guinea-Bissau is where I want to go. People don't even know where Guinea-Bissau is, right? But it's a great place. I have contacts over there, and I want to experience that culture. Senegal, Mongolia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, right? Places that most people wouldn't go to. That's my list that's left because everything else has been checked off the box.
Which is incredible. And how old are you? Just to give the viewers
39.
some perspective. 39 years old. And
Yeah.
are you just like a travel bum? Like you just travel and like don't do anything else, or you got other stuff going on?
Yeah, no, it's always a mix of work and pleasure. So it depends on how people want to live their life. I made a decision early on, well in college, that I want a work-life balance, but I also want to get myself immersed in some sort of work and career that would allow me to do international business. Because if you can lump that in together and you go over to a country, for instance, I've been to South Africa a bunch. I'd go to South Africa and I would go and meet with growers and packers and shippers around shipping fruit, vegetables, and flowers. I'd be in the depths and all over South Africa for work. If I made it that far over there, I'm not leaving. When I'm done
Yeah.
with work, I'm going to go. I went over to Zambia and Zimbabwe and Namibia and, Botswana, and you go take another 5, 6, 7, 10 days and go enjoy something while you've already made it to that side of the world. And I think that is the key, is I was able to combine both. And, I've always worked for myself in essence. So that allows me the freedom to not have to take PTO and submit in, time off for my ability to go travel like that. So it's very, very hard to travel the way I have if you are in a career or a job that, allows you 3 weeks vacation. That's going to be really tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so the way I've seen it and the way, like, what really fascinated me is the way that you're like, yeah, drop of a dime, we can go. Like, it is not like, let's plan it out 6 months. Like my strategy is usually like, hey, 2-3 months in advance, let's plan it because then you get excited about it. You're like, I mean, we can do that, but like I also like tomorrow we can go too.
Most people, it's funny. I'm actually planning a trip in a few weeks over to ski Japan and go to the Cherry Blossom Festival and then hit Philippines and then I'll hit South Korea. And we're going with another couple. And it's funny. A lot of people can't travel the way we do because I mean, hear me out, Jordan. If you have a plan in your life, right? Okay. And you are set to say, oh, you know, we're going somewhere in 6 months. I booked this. I got a dinner reservation this night. We're going to see a comedy show this night. We got, you know, an excursion on Wednesday morning. All you do is fester that trip in your head for the next 6 months and imagine what it's going to be like. So you have an anticipation that, oh, this trip's going to be so much fun. We have all these things planned. Trips never work that way. What if you go there and you meet and you find out there's some great festival going on and you end up out all night till 3 a.m. and then you booked an excursion at 6 a.m. You're not going to want to go on that excursion. You're going to feel obligated to because you prepaid it, you've done X, Y, and Z. If you have no plan, I promise you things work out 99% of the time. And then because you have the expectation bar is so low, you don't have any expectation, everything's awesome because you didn't fester it in your head over 6 months and think about what it's going to be like. I have no idea what's going to happen. I book a one-way flight, usually don't have a hotel until I get there, and I go with the flow. And if I find that there's something unique about that place I want to go check out, I go do it. You don't know about that country until you're in that country. What if you meet your taxi driver and they're like, hey, did you hear about this waterfall? You guys need to go there. It's a hidden gem. No tourists know about it. It's a local hangout. I want to go do that.
Yeah.
Right? So if I had an excursion booked and a dinner booked and a comedy show and this and that, well, oh no, I can't do that. I already prepaid all this other stuff. What? I don't want to do that. So having that ability to just go on the fly, I'm telling you, most people can't do it. I've tried to travel with people and they just panic. They don't like the unknown. They don't like the uncertainty. They need to have their agenda. And I just tend to not work well in that environment on a trip. So yeah, it's a different way of looking at it. I promise you, for those of you listening, try it. I guarantee you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and this is exactly why I wanted you on, because you challenge different perspectives. You have different ideas that I'm like, whoa, like I've traveled to like 20 plus countries and I'm like, you're doing it differently and you're doing it in a cool way. But it makes a lot of sense because Tony Robbins says if you trade in your expectations for appreciation, you're going to live a much happier life. And that's exactly what you're doing. I've never thought about it in the travel capacity. I've never related it to that, but that makes a lot of sense because if you leave yourself 3 or 4 days or the entire trip to be free, it's like, okay, we're in this location. What do we want to do?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
And I'm an energy person, so I believe everything feeds off energy. So if the energy feels right during that situation to go do something, then you go do it. If the energy feels off, you don't, you back off. You know, people just, I don't know. I don't know if it's a fear thing, if it's a risk thing. I really don't know the reason why people get so structured, especially in this day and age. We have everything at our fingertips. You know, I'm tired of people complaining about the world's so bad and this and that. I'm like, you kidding me? We have more access to information. We can get around the world. We can eat the best cuisines. It's the safest the world has ever been is today. Okay.
Yeah.
We have everything to be able to figure out a plan and pivot. We can book a hotel on the fly. You can go stay at someone's house. You can get a car transport. You can jump on a plane because there's a million flights going every day. What are people complaining about? You know, I just read a statistic. It really set me off that the millennials, it was like 16% of millennials are satisfied with the United States. 16%. I'm like, what? Like, what is wrong with people? Like, what is so bad about our country? We have everything we want right here, you know? And I just don't understand. If you go away more, you start to appreciate what you have back at home, right? And you start to realize that there are billions of people, billions, that literally don't have access to fresh food and water. Over 1.2 billion people on this planet do not have fresh water every day. 1.2 billion. That's 3 times the American population. Don't even have access to fresh water. And we're complaining. Oh, this bottle of water is not as good as this one. It's got more electrolytes in this one. Really? I mean, come on.
No,
Like, people don't even drink out of a fountain here.
I completely agree. And it really brings up an interesting point, because there's so many people who will complain about the situation that we're in, but they won't go to the perspective of, hey, I actually lived in a place where I paid $1 a night, and that was expensive. That was the expensive place in the hut. And they sat there and they're like, how do you guys do these things? How do you do all this stuff? And because they never left their bubble. And it's that jumping out of your bubble that I think is the most powerful tool. So for you, going to college, trying to build a business, doing all of that, what was your strategy for integrating travel? Was it the trip, like I'm planning a trip, or it's just, hey, my friend said, let's do this? Because when people are going, it can be difficult and daunting, and you get bogged down by, hey, my business isn't doing amazing, I can't travel this year. How did you overcome that?
Definitely time management. I think in life in general, it's not like a pat on my back. There are a lot of people that have better time management than me. I mean, Tim Ferriss started this whole thing way back when, the 4-hour work week. I remember reading the book, 15 plus years ago or whenever it was. He nailed it, right? He figured out a way to put his life on autopilot by selling online, nutraceuticals and things like that while going around the world and learning new skills. I mean, the guy would earn like a black belt in Muay Thai, while his work is paying him, on autopilot with, subcontracting an assistant in India and doing all these things. Really, really unique book. If anyone has not read it, and Tim Ferriss, I think he's a fantastic guy, but, it's all around time management. And you have to be able to work hard and play hard. And I'm a play hard person. I've partied my whole life. I like to get out and entertain, socialize, network. Meeting people is extremely fascinating to me. I'm the type of person that you stick me anywhere, and I'm open to talking to every single person in the room, from different temperaments, talents, and convictions. I don't care where you're from, what you're about. I just want to learn, and I want to have a good conversation and be around good energy. But if you can figure out how to travel and work, you're set up for success. Even if that work is back home, you got to adjust your schedule. For instance, this past summer, I was away for like 6.5 weeks straight. And, I was on a 6 and 7 hour time difference. So at 7-hour time difference, I get to get up in the morning and relax, have coffee, go for a walk, work out, and not feel like I'm going against time where I have to get on conference calls at 8:30 or 9. However, there's a trade-off. So now I'm enjoying my day from 7 a.m. up until, let's call it 4 p.m. But at 4 p.m. till 9 p.m., I'm working, because that's 9 a.m. till, 2 p.m. I'm pumping out work, right? So I'm going to still maximize my time, enjoy my day, work, and then do a late dinner. Maybe I go to dinner at 9 o'clock and hang out for a few more hours, go to bed, and get to do it again. So you're just shifting when you're going to be available. So time zones are important. Where it gets tricky is if you're in 12 or 13-hour time zones in Asia, or 17-hour time zone difference in Australia, New Zealand. That gets tricky. But it can all be done. And I'm not the only one out there that does this, right? There are a lot of people that are traveling more and more. I look at the statistics of it, and there's a lot of people that are kind of nomads that figured out the work-life balance and are highly effective at it. But it all comes down to time management. You got to be disciplined.
Absolutely. And we were actually in London, Iceland, and it's fascinating now because the phones, you don't even have to get SIM cards. You don't have to do anything. It's all the same stuff. They're literally like $10 a day. I'm like, fantastic. That sounds great. And I get all my texts, I get my email.
I couldn't agree with you more.
It's become so easy at this point that it's like, why not? Like, what's holding people back from this travel? What's changing that perspective? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also interesting that, I will say things have gotten more expensive lately. I mean, I'm going to Tokyo, and I looked up hotels, and they're between $1,200 and $1,800 a night. That's insane. Now that's for 5-star stuff. But the thing with travel is you can always find, based on your economic situation, there's always something that'll work for you, right? If you want to go on a budget, there is endless things to do traveling on a budget. I've done it. I've stayed in hostels. I'm not some bougie guy that needs to be 5-star everywhere I go. I don't really care about that. By the way, another little tidbit, don't spend money on hotels. When people blow money on a hotel and they're doing a trip where they're going 3-4 days here, 3-4 days here, and they're traveling around, what are you doing in the hotel? If you're in a place for 3 days and you're sitting around in your Ritz-Carlton or your Four Seasons and dining there and going to the pool and the spa, why did you even travel to that country in the first place? Why not just sit at home? I don't see the point. Take the money and go donate it. Go find a local charity or figure out something that's going on in that city that you want to be a part of, or go out and spend money into the economy by doing cool shit. I just don't believe in that. Now, if you're going to go to an island and you want to, have a romantic getaway and stay at a mega resort and really just spend 5-6 days relaxing, absolutely invest in a great spot. But if you're trying to go out and see the culture, be in, Rwanda, go out to the jungle, go out to the woods, go out and do stuff, talk to the locals, go see art, go to museums, go to nightlife, go to bars, do things that acclimate you to that current society that you're in. I am not a spender on hotels. And I really don't agree when people do that and spend that much money to go sit in that Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons.
That's a very interesting point because it does lock you in there. Like you are, instead of me getting up at 6 a.m., now I'm getting up at 10 a.m. because I'm like, hey, it's really nice here. I don't want to go outside.
Right. Or you feel you feel obligated to, because you spend so much money on it, you feel obligated to use, the hotel as much as you can to get your money's worth, right? It's a subconscious kind of mindset. If you go spend $200-$300 on a hotel, you don't feel bad. The way you calculate it is you break it down by the hours you're going to sleep. If you spend $1,000 on a hotel and per night, and you're sleeping 8 hours a night, you're spending $125 an hour to sleep. All right.
Yeah.
Because what else are you doing there? If you're spending more time than sleeping and maybe having a nice breakfast or maybe a happy hour drink, you're spending too much time in that hotel. Get out in that city and go see shit. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my mentality of it. I'd rather take that $800, $125 an hour, spend $200 a night, $300 a night. Now you're only paying $25 an hour for your 8-hour sleep. Right? And now take that extra $600 and go wild, go do fun stuff, Yeah.
Yeah. And this is exactly the reason I wanted to have this conversation, because there are so many travel tips that most people don't even ask because they go, dude, Europe, that's crazy. Let alone Tokyo, that's impossible. I could never. And it's just, you're limiting yourself and you're not being like, okay, but how can we make it possible? How can we do this? You don't have to have all these limits and these parameters. And the other cool thing is, like you were saying, you're not just going to go there for 3 days. You're going to go hit 3 or 4 different countries,
right,
and jump around and experience these different areas. And there's so much to travel. And one of the things I really like, and you might have this experience as well, but I started doing this back a few years where every new year I'd look back on the previous year and go, what were like top 5 moments?
I like that.
Every time I go international, it's a top moment. Why is that? Why is that a top moment and not the time I went to dinner with my friends? Right. It doesn't make sense. It's because it's a really impactful memory and you don't do it super often.
Sure.
And it becomes more impactful to you. And it's
you nailed it. Right? You got one life to live. And at the end of the day, I've almost died a few times. I got hit by a car 12 years ago. Actually, my anniversary of getting hit by the car is I think it's next week.
What happened?
Got hit by a car going for a run in South Beach. While I was working, I decided to go outside and not work out in my gym in my building. So I was running over the Venetian Islands and a car smacked me from behind at 45 miles an hour by a 95-year-old woman at noon. So it was at lunchtime. And it took me a year to learn how to walk again. And I was able to survive because when I got hit, my arms were flexed because I was running. And when I landed and hit the concrete and flew off the car, my arms braced the fall and not my head. And if I hit my head, I would have died. But they did want to amputate my leg. So the point to this is not the story of getting hit by a car, because that sucks. And I don't recommend anyone get hit by a car. The story is that after I got hit by the car, which happened around 27 years old, that it puts things in perspective that it's like, man, you really only have one life to live. And where do you want to be when you're, 85, 90, or sitting in your rocking chair, or, God forbid, sitting in the hospital bed, waiting to pass away? Do you want to look back at your life and say, man, I really didn't do everything I should have done, right? Should have done suck. I guess that's the theme of today. We'll call it should have done suck. My lacrosse coach taught me that in middle school. He used to say it all the time, should have done suck. Do you want to go out there and make things happen in your life? Or do you want to sit back and say, oh, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have went there. I wish this, I wish that, I wish this. That's bullshit. Okay. Anyone that says that, it's like, wish what? You could just get off your ass and go do something, and do something about it and make it happen. Anything is possible for anybody in this world. I do believe in social restriction, right? The person that lives in the Congo that's, being trafficked and enslaved to go mine cobalt is not the same, ability to go travel the world. But America, give me a break. We have so much opportunity here. You have endless opportunity to go create wealth, create value, create your dynamic of what you want out of life, and get out there and see things. And I don't even care if it's international. Go, last year I hit my 50th state in Alaska. We were helicoptering over a glacier. We were hanging out with some bears, went bar hopping locally in each of the towns, saw the Northern Lights, went to Iditarod, which is the largest dog sledding race in the world. And we did all that in 4 days and checked off my 50th state. And it's like, we didn't have a plan. All that just happened. And it didn't cost us that much money. So like people that are, living in central, United States, and that's where predominantly people are less traveled, less cultured. So when you look at the Midwest and the South and whatnot, people just don't go to as many places. But I'm championing the idea that you can get out there, you can do it for a fraction of the money you think. You can be innovative and creative. There are endless things you can do in cities for free. I mean, you can Google any city and say best day to do things for free, and they'll give you 20, 30 things that you can go do, right? You don't have to spend bukus of money. Go buy a 6-pack and walk around and put it in a backpack if you want to go drink. Like, who cares, right? There's ways that you can do it. You don't have to go spend bukus of money. So my whole thing here is should have done suck. Get out there and do shit.
I love that. And there was a lot of good points you brought up, especially that most people don't have that life changing or that almost death experience like you had. And I'm glad you're still here, but that gives you the proper perspective. So I think all of us can take that lesson right now and understand, hey, we do only have one life to live. Wake up and go get that. And in regards to your comment about the Midwest, during COVID, I literally traveled with my girlfriend from Tampa in a car. We went to Dallas. We went to Colorado. We went to Salt Lake City. Everything was drivable. Everything is drivable in the U.S. It is insane. No one realizes it, but we have cars and they go places.
That's right.
And people are like, gas is expensive. It's not that expensive. Like a flight is more than the gas. And then plus when you go to the location, you have the car still because we do a month in every place. So I was like, sure, we'll stay here for a month. We have a car, whatever. Go to Salt Lake, have a car.
Exactly.
Nashville, have a car. I'm like, this is the easiest thing ever. This is the cheat code. You get to see the city. You get to be in the place for a month. You're learning, you're working, and you're playing with the time zones. And it's
couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. We knocked out about 20 states, my fiance and I, during the pandemic. So I actually, the 50 state thing, the only, my goal was to hit 100 countries by the time I turned 40. COVID did prohibit that. However, we still did travel quite a bit internationally. I think I hit like 12 countries during COVID, most of which were repeats. Most of the countries I've been to 3, 4, 5, 10 times. I mean, St. Lucia, I've been to 25 times, right? So, so it just depends. Actually, more. I think I've been there 40 times. Actually, I counted the other day. It's high. But when you look at the car thing that you mentioned during COVID, we decided to do that too. We went to Montana, Wyoming, Yellowstone. We rented a car. We flew up to Connecticut, got in a car, and drove all through New England. Hit Maine. We hit New Hampshire and Vermont. Rhode Island. Talk about amazing, going up to Maine. I mean, that was a state that I've been wanting to hit forever and I never did. What a fun place, right? So you're right. You can get in a car, you can go. You can still manage your business, especially if you're only in time zones that are 1, 2, 3 hour differences. That's easy. The work at home thing is becoming more common. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I do know that it's a great way for you to be able to leverage your time. If if you're able to work from home, what company tells you that you have to be physically in your house? Can't you be in an Airbnb, a month, a time zone away in Colorado? So if you're allowed to work from home, then take that information. Don't go out and leave and not actually do anything for a month. But if you want to go live in a ski town for a month and work from there, so be it. Go do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everyone views it as, whoa, that was such a big endeavor. And it was like, no, literally not at all. It's not a big undertaking at all, especially if you're just renting places.
Yeah.
It's like you just give up your lease, you put it in a storage unit, and you get on the road. But everyone's like, wow, how'd you do that? You just do it. Like you just go. It's a decision.
Check this out, Jordan. You'll appreciate this one. So this past week I was in San Diego and I was in Southern California, and then I flew to Utah for the weekend. Okay. When I flew out to San Diego, I flew out last Tuesday. Okay. I got there. Somebody picked me up from the airport to go to dinner while waiting for my CFO to come in. My CFO 3 days before was emailing my executive assistant, hey, where are we staying? Do I need to book a hotel? Are you guys going to book a hotel? I need to know where I'm staying. I'm like, I don't know where we're staying. We'll figure it out. So he landed, he's older and he's, still uncomfortable. He's like, did we get a place? I'm like, no, I haven't gotten a place. He's like, dude, it's 9:00 at night. I go, yeah, I decided that the hotels are bad because there's a conference, but I'm looking at houses right now. There's one in La Jolla on the beach, and there's one right in Little Italy in San Diego. And I'll figure it out. Take an Uber to where I am right now. By the time you get here, I'll have us a house. So he gets there. I book a house. I'm talking with 3 different homes. Book the house, 9:30 at night. We finish up dinner. By the time I booked it, I had a whole thing from the manager of the house that had a key lock box, how to get in, everything about the home, the Wi-Fi. They literally take me to Little Italy. I type in the code. I'm in the house. I'm in the house within 30 minutes of me booking it. I never had to interact with anyone. Okay. Second thing, I needed a car. So I didn't need a car for the whole time. I needed a car on Thursday to get around to some of my meetings and see some family that were up in Rancho Bernardo, my aunt and uncle. So we're at a breakfast meeting in La Jolla. I'm like, you know what? I think I need a car. I go on Turo, look for cars. Turo immediately pulls cars in your area or larger, depending on what radius you're looking for. I find a car that's walking distance. It's a Tesla. I booked a Tesla for $75. Okay. All in, it cost me $114 with the service fees and everything for the whole day, which is nothing when you think about it to get around. It would have cost $250 in Uber. So I booked the car. I walk out of my breakfast meeting, walk down the street, beam my phone to the car. Turo has the ability to unlock the car. It unlocks the car. It gives me the security code on the screen. I unlock the screen, the key is in there, and I drive away. I had a car and a house. I booked them both on the fly, and I never had to interact with anyone. So when people that have not traveled a lot, they need to realize that even travel has changed over the last few years as far as efficiency and effectiveness. I mean, the fact that I could do that on the fly is pretty amazing, right? And I think people need to start to realize, like, get out there, try it, be flexible, and you'll find things and you'll make things happen. And just get out there. Even if you just get in the car and drive around, like Jordan said, and just see some cool shit. It's all there for the taking.
Yeah, I love that because you don't even think about half this stuff. But if you're trying to get hotels like back in the day, you got to call them. How much is it a night? How much is it? You have all the information in front of you, and there's so much flexibility.
Hotel Tonight's another good one. If you haven't used the app, I live on Hotel Tonight. I'm level like 42. So Hotel Tonight, it gives the last minute inventory that's available in that city, and it price cuts it quite a bit. You literally find the hotel, you swipe, you're booked. You go there within 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and that hotel is in their system, the booking, and you can check right in. Hotel Tonight is the best app to use for last minute hotel bookings. So everyone download that. And if Hotel Tonight wants to pay me for some marketing, I'd be happy to do it because I think I've signed up like 1,000 people so far.
I love that. Yeah, no, and it's incredible because it is so accessible and life is there. So for you, where did your journey of this intentionality of I need to build a life where I can travel come from? You mentioned a little bit in high school, a little bit of college, but
Yeah.
what was that journey like for you?
So the real pivot for me was I was a lacrosse player and I was looking to play in college, and I went to a D1 school and was gonna play there, top D1 school. And I decided last minute, I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this. And the main reason that I stepped down was because they do not let you travel. And I wanted to study abroad. And when you play a D1 sport, almost never do they let you take a semester off to go live abroad, or let alone a year. Okay. It's not acceptable. So I made a decision. And at that point I said, okay, am I going to make millions playing lacrosse, or am I going to make a better lifestyle choice to get out there and see the world and network from a business perspective so I can build the career that I want to? And let's start that in college. So I went over to London and lived in London back in 2003. And I got out there and traveled all over the place, met people from all over the world, had a girlfriend that she was from Beirut, Lebanon, half French, half Lebanese. We traveled around. I learned a lot about culture, and that network of people I'm still connected with 20 plus years later. And you look at that as, I think, the biggest catalyst for me to realize that I not only want to go abroad, live abroad, but I really want to do international business transactions. And I really, really enjoy going to other countries, negotiating deals, learning about the way they operate as a society, how their business ethics and etiquette are. It's just exciting stuff, right? And by the way, there's nothing better than working for a company that pays for you to go out and do these things. A lot of the companies that I had worked for early in my career, even though I was running divisions or, an entrepreneur in that company or a co-founder, the company was still funding my travel, right? Which was fantastic. There's no better thing than running a credit card for a hotel or a car or a meal that is going to a business and not through your personal bank account, right? And as long as it's done properly and you're going there to do real business, it's fantastic, right? And most people that have traveled the world to the extent that I have had to do it with business as a part of that strategy. It's very difficult to get to that many countries without having business as an integral part of the country count.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And people don't realize it, but when you have a business making money, then there's a bunch of write-offs and there's a bunch of incentives. And it's like, hey, we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this. And it just takes a little bit of time.
Well, especially if you're converting business, right? If you're actually transacting and you're building relationships, you're closing contracts, makes it all the worthwhile. I'll give you a funny story. This is someone I know, an acquaintance, and I was with him in Santorini a few years back, I think 2021, summer of 2021. And their yacht, their $60 million yacht, could not sail because it gets super windy over in the Greek islands sometimes. So they were stuck on Santorini. So we all went to a beach club. And I'm sitting there having a cocktail with this guy. He sold his company for $250 million. Okay.
Oh, wow.
He's only 44 years old, sells it, never thought he was going to exit like that. But he created something that, a company wanted, and they offered him that lump sum and he took it. Well, he decided to pivot his life. And he decided to invest in a $60 million yacht. And then he had a crew of 13. He still has the yacht, still sailing around. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to him. And I'm like, listen, man, you're only 5 years older than me. I'm like, what's it like to do this right now? He goes, Sean, you don't understand. He goes, I thought that this yacht would just be like an energy and money suck of my bank account. He's like, yeah, it cost me 7 figures a year to operate the yacht. He's like, but I'm making way more money that I never in a million years would have imagined I would have. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, think about it. I pull up to these ports. I hang out, we're docked with a bunch of other yachts, and someone on their dinghy comes over and cordially invites us for happy hour on their yacht. So what happens? You start to know and linger around this social network of other yachters who are wealthy as all can be. And there's opportunity for investment. He'll say, we'll be hanging out, and three other yacht owners and I are talking. They're like, hey, we're doing this land deal in Qatar, in Doha. We're each going to put in $1 million and we should 10 times our money in the next 18 months. You want to get in? And he's like, sure. Puts money in, and all of a sudden he takes $1 million and turns it into 10. right? Because the elite have access to information more so than the average Joe. So he's actually making more money by sailing around in his yacht, networking with that type of personality, that type of crowd, to be able to drive more revenue back into his pocket. So the yacht may cost $2 million a year to operate. He's probably turning 10 or 20 million a year just on the network that he's surrounding himself with. How crazy is that? And for the first time in my head, a light bulb went off, and he's right. It's like, get out there, network, meet the right people, always strive to be around people that are bigger, better, bolder than you, so you learn from them, and surround yourself with that type of person is going to drive you, motivate you to be better as an individual. And in the return on investment is actually a financial return on investment ultimately, right? So I'm just a big proponent of, not only when you travel, you get out there for business, you network, you talk to people, have open conversations, and good things will happen to you.
Absolutely. I love that, because when we're doing this podcast, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, I'm having Sean on. Sean's going to tell me about travel. I'm going to get excited about that. And then I'm seeing where you're like, yeah, I talked to this guy, and he got me excited about travel in a different way.
Yeah,
and it's so cool to see. It's so cool to see, because the thing is that there's so much out there, and how could you ever know what it's like to own a $60 million yacht when I don't own one? You don't own one, it doesn't sound like, and the guy owns one. You can't be afraid to ask those questions, because they're very open people, and they're happy to answer them.
Right. We're all just people. At the end of the day, having a conversation with a multi-billionaire, they're just people too. And they're fortunate to have built what they've built. And there's different classes of wealth. And there is a lot of people getting super wealthy right now post-pandemic. So the disparity of wealth is happening, not only in the United States, which I think is one of the biggest challenges of the US right now, but it's happening around the world. There's a lot of people sitting on a lot of money. So we got to figure out how to bring that back and get people in the middle class back running. But that's a whole nother conversation. But, surrounding yourself from meeting those types of people, you can learn a lot, because I promise you, most people that are billionaires or worth hundreds of millions, they're pretty smart. All right. They're pretty intuitive. They're definitely good networkers, and they definitely are pit bull and bold business people to get to that level. Right. Nobody makes that type of coin without having that drive, that intuition, and that social networking capability. Unless your family, unless you're an heired family, taking over billions that maybe your father or your grandfather or great grandfather built. That's a little different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So what is it? How are you doing that with Verséa? How is Verséa in this whole equation? How does that all connect?
Yeah. So the whole, my company, Verséa Health, is all around three big pillars, right? It's how do you look at precision medicine, and how do you look at taking care of yourself, but from within, looking at your cells, so cellular research, but understanding your cell makeup is different than everyone else's. So how do we identify your cellular mitochondria levels and what's going on in there, so we can manage your health over time? So it's your health, your hands. We have another division for therapeutics, and we have another division for diagnostics. And within each of those pillars, our whole motivation is to offset a broken healthcare system. If you guys are listening, even if there's just one person listening, I want you to Google this. Google revenue of United Healthcare 2022. Okay. You're going to find some reports will show at 325 billion. Some will show you at 360 billion. Either number is insane. Okay. Just to put that in perspective, that's one insurance company out of many in this country that is larger in revenue than Apple's entire global revenue.
Oh, wow.
So when you look at these types of companies, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, they're all in the hundreds of billions. Okay. They own the healthcare system. They own what medications, what treatments, what services you're going to get. They also own the clinicians and the hospitals, because the hospitals are at the beck and call of the payers. What's going to be covered and to how much? And each year reimbursement goes down. The hospitals are pinched. The private practices are pinched. The doctors have to see more patients to get the same amount of revenue they got in previous years. And who suffers the most? You and I, the patients, right? We get a lower standard of care. You get doctors that are only going to prescribe or do things that are covered under your insurance plan. So your health is not in the right mindset in the hands of people that are motivated to do the right thing for you, because no doctor, no hospital is in the business of losing money. Okay. It's not really their business model. So they have to figure out what they're going to do, and they negotiate with the big payers. So it's like Big Brother all the way down, right? So it's a really messed up system. So Verséa Health's whole mission is to help on the innovation of healthcare, help people understand that you can take your own healthcare into your own hands. Just like you manage your banking, just like you manage your travel, you can manage your healthcare. You can be proactive to prevent massive issues taking place down the road: cancer, cardiometabolic issues, heart and cardiovascular issues. You could look at, mental issues, all these things that you can prevent through proactive medicine. And that's the mission of Verséa Health. So really cool company. We're growing. We have amazing talent on the team, and we deal in some international stuff right now, but predominantly everything is US based. We are penetrating some markets and looking to expand in those markets over the next few years, which I'm excited about, because that allows me to get out and do more and more travel and do it through the business. So
yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. And you are right. Like, I'm very familiar with my finances. Like, that makes sense. I understand the apps. I understand how that works. Healthcare, I'm like, I got no clue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I find myself a pretty intuitive person where I'm like trying to understand, but like most people, you just pay your bill and then you go to the doctor and you're like, how much is it? What do I owe? How does this work? No, most people don't understand that. And that's why they're hesitant on the proactive. How much is that going to cost? And it's just this interesting.
Well, and then you look at like an average American's deductible and health plan all in is $3,300 to $3,500. That's your monthly payout plus your deductible. So how many people are actually using 4,000 of healthcare a year? Most aren't. So the reason the payers like United have 360 billion of revenue is because they're collecting all these premiums and they're not pushing it back into the market, and they're not looking at medicine as a reactive, or they're looking at medicine as a reactive thing, not as a proactive thing. And they don't cover things for you as an individual that they should. And it's like a game of hot potato. Which insurance company is going to get stuck with a patient when they get diagnosed with stage 3 or 4 cancer? Which insurance company is going to get stuck with a patient when they are diagnosed with diabetes or heart disease, right?
Yeah.
So that game of hot potato is what's causing this broken system that's really controlled by the payers, the PBMs, which the payers own, and then the health systems that are all aggregating and becoming large, massive conglomerates. And then the doctors are just employees, so they have no say in what goes on. And then the patients are the ones that get really screwed. I mean, it's simple as that. So if you look at the pyramid of healthcare, people would think like the Pfizers are on the top of that pyramid. That's not the case. It's the payers. Pfizer's not even $100 billion company. United Healthcare is 2.5 times the size of Pfizer. Okay. That's crazy. And most people don't realize that. McKesson, a distributor, is a $260 billion company. McKesson, the one that moved the drugs from Pfizer or Merck or Novartis, plus medical supplies and diagnostics. So people don't realize this, that are not in healthcare. They don't realize the size and magnitude of this market. Not to mention, it's like 1/3 of our GDP as a country. So motivated to keep costs high and keep things the way they are, because that's what drives the economy. But the patients are the ones that continue to suffer day in and day out. We're getting lower standard of care right now. That's why you go to the doctor and you get like a 1.5-minute visit, because the doctor's got to see 60 patients to make the same money they did 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's really interesting.
Right? Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I definitely appreciate you trying to head up that cause, because it's most things that people don't even understand.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea. And it can be very difficult.
It is, but people are starting to wise up. I think people, there's so much access to information now. That's why I just say, guys, Google McKesson's revenue, Google Pfizer's revenue, 2022, Google United Healthcare's revenue, Google Blue Cross Blue Shield, and start to read. And you'll be like, wow, this is kind of nuts. Everyone knows Apple, right? We all think of Apple as a big company. Apple's a $300 billion company. They're huge, but Apple's a $300 billion company worldwide. These companies are United States-based insurance companies that have more revenue than an Apple. How insane, right? So Yeah, interesting times, guys. And look, at the end of the day, I live a high impact, stressful life. I do. The way I couple that is through travel, and I look at, figuring out what works for myself to help balance that work hard, play hard mentality. Everybody has got their own vice, their own things that work for them. I hope it's not drugs and booze and smoking and things like that.
Yeah.
But my vice is travel. It's how I connect with this amazing earth that we live on. It's how I connect with the universe. It's how I connect with the greater energy that's out there. And it's how I learn, right? My learning comes through empiricism. And anyone that doesn't know what empiricism is, it's really looking at personal experiences that help create the understanding of the world around you.
I love
And
that.
textbooks are not really going to give you the depth of what you can find and uncover by getting out there and really feeling things out. I have a son who's 4 months, almost 4 months old. And the first thing we're doing with him is he's going to live in the summers around the world. He's gonna get and start charitable work early on in Africa. He's going to get involved in understanding the world around him, not understanding the little 30-mile radius around him. Okay. This little bubble of our little communities in suburbia and, people's schools. It's not what the world's about. Get out there, let children experience the world around them and let them take in the sights, the sounds, the energy, the feeling of what's happening in this world. And they're going to become better people from that. And those are the people that are going to understand and help this world as we transition into this modern era of super fast technology. There's a lot going on right now that's interesting. And Jordan, you and I, for the next, hopefully we're around on this earth for the next 30, 40, 50 years. I hope I make it another 50 years. And I can't wait to see what happens, because I believe that it is going to change drastically over the next 25 to 50 years. And the only way to couple with that and look at what you can do is to get out there and know the world around you and understand it from different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest proponents. I think when people search for those different idea, everyone basically sits in their own perspective and they're like, this wasn't fair. This was too hard. And they play victim instead of going, I'm accountable for everything I've ever done. I'm accountable for where I'm at right now. And the thing is that if I can have the perspective of that person at the food store who started yelling at me because their husband got a divorce with them and now they're really upset, it's not my fault. Like, you don't take things personally. And to have that perspective of, I actually have access to water when I turn on the faucet, instead of having to walk 6 miles like I did on that one day when I was in Africa and I was trying to help the kids.
Right.
You just have a more holistic view of the world. And I think that's what we all chase and seek.
Yeah.
Or we should.
You're absolutely spot on. Yeah. It's going to be interesting times ahead, though. And I'm confident that, the folks that get it are going to continue to get out there and make things happen. I am not a proponent of sitting on your couch, living the mundane life of routine where every day is the same. It's like Groundhog Day. That scares the shit out of me. That's probably my biggest. That's my biggest fear, is getting to a point in life where the day-to-day schedule becomes the norm. And I don't believe that's the way to live, because then all of a sudden 20 years pass, 30 years pass. And then you what happens? You say, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. Should have done suck. Don't do it. Get out there and do the things that you should have done or that you anticipate you would have wanted to do. Just do them now. Don't wait.
Absolutely. And I love the intentionality of everything that you said. Like, you're talking about your son that was just born. You're like, when he's 10 years old, he's going to be doing that. Like, he's already doing charity work. He can't even stand. He can't even he's not that like, but you're like, no, he's already going to be doing this. He's sending us. He's never celebrated a summer before. He's going to be celebrating them abroad. Like, it's just that type of intentionality is what it takes sometimes to live at the high level that you're operating at. But not everyone has to do that. This can be simplified in so many levels. Like, it can be raised higher or it can be raised lower. And like, where is that intentionality in your life, the audience?
Sure.
And where do you want to add more of that intentionality? But this has been absolutely incredible. Where can people learn more about you or Verséa or
Yeah,
This is awesome.
Verséa.com. So Versea.com will give you a really a good understanding, general understanding of what we're doing on the company side. We plan on having exponential growth over the next 3 years, hockey stick growth. And I believe in our mission, and I believe in some of the great products and services that we're creating to help, enhance patient outcomes and enhance, economics for the clinics and hospitals that we work with. And at the end of the day, I'm turning 40 here in a few months. I got a lot of shelf life left in my business side of my life, but I am not trying to work as hard as I am now forever. I am trying to work this hard for the next 3 to 5 years, so then I can be around for my kids and be around and enjoy their life and watch them grow and be there as a support system and live that childhood era that I wanted to live. But I waited, right? I'm going to be an older dad, but I got a lot of this out of my system early on, so then I can, enter this next chapter in my life. So yeah, if you want to learn more about me, I speak quite a bit in the greater Tampa Bay area. I'm back and forth from New York City and Tampa and travel all over the place. And yeah, looking forward to continue discussions with you, Jordan.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for reaching the end of the podcast. For that, we'll give you a complimentary coaching session in the link below with Edwards Consulting. Hope to see you there and have a great day and keep clocking in.